Mr. Jordan?
Oh, it's Jordan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Edwards. How are you doing today?
I'm well.
Good.
Good to see you.
We have one item tonight, and it's item F, and it is a payment for an invoice that was completed by Hobart Sales and Services. They replaced a water filter cartridge on the ice machine at Blackberry Trail Maintenance Shop. That amount was $552.96. Thank y'all very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
You too.
How's the baseball thing going?
Wonderful.
I heard the softball was really good.
Very well. People from all over really bragging on us.
A little better weather.
Mr. Coons?
Good afternoon. We're still telling our names, David Coote, Solid Waste Street Recycler.
Thank you.
Two things on the agenda this afternoon. The second one is the resolution from All Equipment. That's for labor and materials to repair the fuel dispenser at the landfill, $1,753.59. Any questions on that particular item? It just got messed up and we had to get them up here to fix it on site.
It's all fixed, right?
It is, pumping away. The resolution G is for a contract with Waste Services in Northeast Mississippi. We know them as Waste Connections. And they've been hauling our garbage for, I don't know, 12 years or so. And so we knew a rate increase was coming, we just didn't know what it would be. So the bid came in, we did get two bids. One was from Public Services, and that was for us to drive there. And that would be about a 3-hour round trip per truck. And these trucks can't finish a day with a 3-hour chunk taken out of the middle of it. We're not set up for that. Most of the time, these things go through transfer stations. So that really wasn't a bid that we could consider because our trucks will haul sometimes 2 loads a day. The other bid was from Waste Services in Northeast Mississippi at a total of $65.75 per ton, going from the current price of $33.88 a ton. And they lease the transfer station from a private landowner, and we don't have a whole lot of choice here. They haul our garbage away, we pay them to operate it, to run it, and haul it away for us. So at this time, it's my recommendation that we do this. The challenge is the cost. We're going from we're doing about 28,500 tons per year. The cost is at $33.88, which is what we're paying now. It costs us about $966,000 a year in disposal and transportation through them. That will go up to, at $65.75 a ton, to $1,874,000 per year for transportation and disposal of our waste. So we're looking at a rate increase also. In the next council meeting, we will probably introduce a rate increase we went to the Finance Committee, with the Public Works Committee, and we came up with a 250 residential rate increase, which is 12.5%. We'll do the same on commercial and go across the board with that rate increase. We'll probably have to revisit this. This will leave the solid waste fund and a deficit budget of about $109,000 in this next budget year. And so we'll probably revisit this in a couple of years. How do we fix it? Okay. If the city had a transfer station, we would be looking at a total of about $42 per ton. That is the going rate. That was the quoted rate I got from Republic Services, which operates the regional landfill in Cortland, Alabama. That's what currently Colbert County is paying, 40 a ton. Franklin County is paying 30 a ton, but it's on bid right now, expected to go up in the 40 range. Limestone County is paying $48.26 per ton. They just built a new transfer station. So the Waste Connections guy sat down with the mayor and Shana and I and recommended that we look at building the transfer station. And so in moving that direction, I've been looking for property for a year or so and really struggled to find anything. I did go out on Starkey Drive and look at the old Shoals tubular building that comes on an 8-acre tract with an adjoining 18 acres next to it. Took a civil engineer out there to look at the site for a transfer station. Is the #1 priority I have. And he says it's a great site for that. There is drainage easement that comes through there, would not represent a problem. The land's been cleared. There's plenty of parking, already parking lots. There's more land that has been cleared. And so it's certainly a strong option for us. It comes with a building on it. And in studying this and coming up with options as to what we could do, and once again, the Finance Committee and the Public Works Committee have both heard this plan. Mr. Hendricks, you're the only one that hadn't heard it, but we hadn't had a chance to sit down yet. But we could do a lot with it. It would give us the opportunity to have a transfer station and to bid our waste out to regional landfills. We'd get at least 2 bids, maybe 3. That would save us in the neighborhood at today's rates about $677,000 a year, not counting what costs there would be to operate it. It wouldn't take much. It'd take about 3 employees and a piece of equipment. We could back them up with people from the landfill. So the plan is there, the site is there. It's to whether we as a city want to pursue this. Other options that we could do there, the building would be suitable for the street department. Street department's in a building built in 1980, probably for about 35 employees. There's currently about 75 down there. It's very suitable to move them out there. If I tried to replace their building, it's going to cost me more than that. Fire department is in need of a mechanic shop. They have 1 bay at their current facility on Florence Boulevard. We could do a central garage. You know, there's a lot of ideas that could be accomplished for the city in the long-term future if we could secure this piece of property and move forward and do things. We could do what Culver County just did. We could put an air curtain incinerator out there, handle our wood waste like they're doing. We're gonna learn from them and see how they do it. There's all kind of ideas and all that I have that we could do there. You know, we just wanted, the committees kind of like the idea. 2 realtors reassured me that we were in the ballpark here on numbers in the Public Works Committee, so that's kind of what I'm looking at here. But bottom line, going back to the whole shooting match here, I do recommend that we pass this contract with Northeast Waste Services of Mississippi, and it's going to cause a rate increase in commercial residential. Any questions about any of this for me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When the garbage truck leaves my yard, where does he go? How does he get to Mississippi?
Okay, so the way a transfer station works, and
Well, currently, how does it work?
yeah, so the same way ours would work. He's going to drive out to the Petersville area to the transfer station leased by Waste Connections, and that garbage truck is going to empty into a trailer, a semi-trailer. Once that trailer is full, the garbage gets packed in there by a machine, usually a backhoe. Once that trailer is full and reaches the weight requirement, they pull it out, a tarp goes on it, and the garbage truck comes back to the landfill or back on the route. Then they drive that semi-truck, the contractors do, which would be my proposal initially. Lauderdale County does it different, they haul their own. But it would be my suggestion that we contract out the hauling and all that, and then it goes to Mississippi, they dump it and come back for another load.
So currently, do we use a transfer?
We do. We use their transfer station. They lease it.
And so they delivered the garbage to Mississippi?
Correct.
Okay. And we haven't buried any garbage on our property in how many years?
We haven't buried household garbage since 12. Now, we do continue to operate a construction demolition landfill at the site on Savannah Highway with a life expectancy probably nearing 20 years. May not make it that long, but you look at what Athens and Limestone County have done. They built a transfer station big enough to handle both waste streams because they don't have a C&D landfill. We do. The day's coming where we won't. This one's going to fill up, and we're going to have to send that waste somewhere.
When you made this presentation, I left and just started asking the public, where does your garbage go? 100% of the public that I questioned said it goes out on near Waterloo Road. That's where their public garbage, their household garbage goes.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that it didn't go there.
Is that good? Maybe that's good.
Well, I just wondered if, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I started asking, and very few people nobody asked questions knew, which that's neither here nor there.
Right.
It's just, our public doesn't know where their garbage goes anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, the bid goes to Mississippi. If we had a transfer station, it's more than likely to go to Portland or Decatur. They would be the ones that would probably bid on the hauling and all.
David, I think it's important too that while we discuss the transfer station, two thoughts come to mind. How long would it take to get this built? And then how long would it last us? And or is there a lifetime on it? We discussed those at Public Works, but I think it's a value here.
Yeah, so Carver County has the state's oldest transfer station, built in '97. If you look at it now, it's been damaged by a truck hitting it, but it's still going. So do the math on that, 27 years or so. So there's no necessary life expectancy on them.
Which is an important distinction from
Yeah.
landfill. I think that's what, there
Right.
needs to be real education to Bill's
Right.
point about
Right,
this.
and let me say this, let me jump in here. Transfer stations are not bad neighbors. Nobody minds a transfer station like they did the landfill, because, you know, that garbage goes from my truck into that trailer, and when that trailer's pulled out, it's tarped. And so, you know, landfills can have the odors and seagulls, all that. So that's not our, won't be our issue. I took the mayor to the county landfill, we got out there and smelled it. You know, we got out there in it and, to try to see, just to reassure him as to what we were looking at. Limestone County built that very large transfer station, called it a double transfer station, they're calling it, in about 15 months.
Oh, okay, so that's not a long time frame to do it, and it has a lifespan.
It has a pretty significant lifespan, you know. I'm not sure there is a lifespan of it, but, you know, once again, securing property would allow us to one day, if we had to build a bigger one or whatever, build another one beside it. It happens, taking construction demolition in one, garbage in the other.
David, I have been made aware of it, and my first concern was that we would get some pushback, that we were taking job creation property out of the industrial park, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna get a lot of folks upset about that. I've been assured that's not a problem. And then having the mechanic shop out there, Ryder, you know, their mechanic shop is right across the street, so that portion fits in really well out there as well. So I think it's a great idea to put it out there.
I mentioned you the stain on the road in Limestone, and I doubt they didn't think about that ahead of time. It's just the drippings from all those trash trucks leaving. Is there something we could do ahead of time possibly to avert that? And I don't expect an answer today. I just want you to think about that. Be proactive so that wherever it's built, we don't have this stain down the highway and you get in and go, what is that? Well, that's garbage.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, because that's the 7 Mile Post Road area in Limestone County, and you see the staining coming from that, and that's the drippings that come, obviously in wet weather more so than this time of year, but I will investigate that. I don't have an answer.
There may not be an answer, but there may be.
Right. No, litter is the other thing, and we do a pretty good job of picking up litter all over the city. It's a losing battle, obviously, but that would be a focus too if we put industrial park. You know, the big selling point there is those roads are there, Helton Drive's there. You get on Helton, you cross the river and go either way, whoever would get the bid, but, you know, we pick up litter on Helton Drive as it is, and so that would be a focus of trying to be a good neighbor and keeping anything that might blow out. That's the tarpon that comes in real quick, and it eliminates any odors and hopefully a lot of litter. Other questions?
I know a lot of work has gone into this and a lot of prepping and planning. And I think it's really important to say at this point in the process that I can't speak for anyone else, but I certainly don't take any rate increases lightly. These are very serious and we ask a lot of questions. And I hope we are able to facilitate next steps to a transfer station so we can keep all of that under what we need it to be for all residents, but also so that we can do better with what we're gonna do with our own waste. So, thank you.
Yeah, you know, and garbage prices are never going to come down. You know, regional landfills are limited and numbered, and so the price of them, you know, they're not going to cut a sale or anything on them. So it's just part of operating the city and trying to hold the cost down. The more control you have, the more ability you have to control costs, and that's what I'm asking for. And they may come that we want to holler on like the county used to say, but as of right now, that's where I stand. Any other questions for me?
What's the lifespan of the landfills we're taking the stuff to?
50 plus years currently. Now, the one at Republic Services is probably in that same range. It's probably got 50-plus years. I mean, they own a massive amount of land over there, and so it's just a developer of sales as they go. It's long, very long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ted?
Afternoon, Tad Cole, Gas and Water Department. I'm here to address any concerns or issues and possibly answer any questions that you guys may have about the infrastructure associated with the Hard Rock Hotel. I sent you guys all an email last week, I guess end of last week, kind of addressing part of that, so thought it would be a good idea if we discussed it. If you had any questions, or if I can answer any questions, I may not have the answer, but I'll be glad to see if I can find the answer. So,
How old is the, I've heard different stories from different people that have been around for a long time. How old is the sewer portion down
that
there?
area?
Underground?
it's in the 50-year range, somewhere in that neighborhood. We're not exactly sure. I can't find a definitive date, but it's going to be in that neighborhood, around 50 years.
So it was built the old-fashioned way, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
We still have some brick manholes in the area, things of that nature, that may possibly have to be addressed, depending on the amount of the capacity that would be generated,
Yeah.
So there are some issues with that we possibly have to address.
Have you had any problems in that particular area lately?
No,
in the
ma'am.
last
The only
few
thing
years?
that we've had, as far as my department is concerned, the only thing that we've had in the immediate area was there in the corner across from the Chevron station. We had to replace a high-pressure gas valve that was leaking. But other than that, we've had no issues as far as water or wastewater sewer is concerned.
Sorry, anybody have any other additional questions for him? Okay,
All right,
thank
thank
you
y'all.
very much. Bill, Mr. Batson?
I have 3 projects, and 2 of them happened in 2016. They were A-Trip 2 projects, and the state, takes its time on a lot of these projects. And at that particular time, they pushed the A-Trip 2 projects, and just about everybody in the state was getting a project, so it's taken a long time to get to this point. But anyway, the first one, CE 907, that is for Wood Avenue. We did a big paving program at that location. And I'm gonna skip number 2 because it's not, it's not an A-Trip 2 project, but the second A-Trip 2 project was Jackson Road. And it was about $200,000, and we had to, pay up about 20% of it to begin with. And, but now they're asking for an additional $2,152.12.
For what?
Well, I've got something in here that, that's the state, for one thing. That's, they'll charge us for, other stuff. But when I was reading the material, it was something about the bond issue, and, when it comes due, and, we get an additional charge. Now, unfortunately, on these types of projects, I don't know that we ever know when it's gonna end. I mean, it doesn't, I've heard that, I don't know that I've ever been notified that it was closed out, but, I may have been, but anyway, the city jumped on it just like about everybody else in the state of Alabama did, because it was a 80-20 match.
So what's the total change order number for both of those A-Trip projects, Bill?
Okay, the Wood Avenue one is $8,485.98.
And includes just a summary of what exactly?
Well, let me see if I've got it with me. they explained it. And again, this is, I'm not much on finances, but, basically, the way they explained it, that it was, it was based on bonds, and, at certain times, those bonds come due, and, so here we are 8 years later, and we're getting this right now.
And that's
But
what
the original
Avenue-
project was like 260,000 or something like that.
And like Jackson Road, that was an 80-20.
Yeah,
Both of them are 80-20.
both of them are 80/20.
Tell that amount again on Jackson.
Pardon?
What was that amount again on
Oh,
Jackson?
yeah, excuse me, I should have corrected you, Ms. Eubanks. It's not Jackson Road, it's Jackson Bridge.
Oh, yeah,
So-
I remember that one.
Yeah, so they, they did that work, that was probably, it was the only bridge that we had load rated at the same time, because it was an old bridge and it wasn't built to the current standards. So we took the opportunity, when it came up, to make it stronger, basically.
So what was the amount, I'm asking?
Well, I mean, the complete cost was, was like 250,000, but, it was, and of course, it was originally done in 2016, but the $2,152.12 is what we're paying at this particular point in time.
Okay. So we need a motion for those two change orders.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have to do them separately, Martha? Separately? We need to do those separately?
Do those two.
Separately? We can do them together? Okay. We've got a motion by Mr. Edwards,
I'll second
a second by Ms. Eubanks, all in favor?
Yeah, there's a third item, and it relates to a survey, and the amount is $425, and it's a change order to an original survey. And, we try to help people out when they've got drainage problems, and this is related to a drainage problem, on Lamar Street. So we're trying to help them out, and this was the cost for the survey.
Motion.
it. Second?
Motion by Mr. Oliver, second by Ms. Eubanks, all in favor?
Mr. Batson, one thing I would ask, because you said that it's difficult to get closure to those projects, is that possible to correct that and at least get something in writing from the state so that we can be absolved of these sort of, hey, by the way, oh yeah, here's $5, I need that. It feels kind of like a give me your lunch money situation.
I will pursue it, and I will call the state, and I'll let you know, but the only two people I talked to said they unfortunately, they just stopped getting messages or something like that, and that's basically the only way they know that, they're done with it.
I would be delighted if you would continue to pursue it on
Okay.
behalf of the residents and their taxpayer dollars.
Okay.
What if we send them a bill?
Pardon?
What if we send them a bill, would they pay it?
Well, they're the big dog on the block, so.
Understand.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Bill. Gary?
Good afternoon, Gary Williamson of the Building Department. I have one item on the consent agenda, it's item D. It's asking the council to declare 6 properties as public nuisances. The addresses are 120 South Kirkland Street, 802 East Tuscaloosa Street, 560 Malone Circle, 202 North Eclipse Street, 330 South Richard Street, and 1224 West College Street. We have sent out notices to the property owners and have posted the properties. These are substandard properties that don't meet our property maintenance standards. And we're gonna move forward with the demolition of these properties and the cleanup of the property. I will say that 330 South Richards, since we sent the notice out, has been demolished. The foundation's still there, the slab's still there, so if you'll move forward with that, we'll monitor that and make sure it's been cleaned up. Also, some repairs have been made at 1224 West College Street, and roof and some other things, so we will monitor that if the council declares it a public nuisance. And I'll answer any questions y'all may have.
Gary, you said, help me, Kirkman, Malone, College, Richards.
Hey, those are not listed on here. And I don't know if we need them, but it would help if they were on there.
Please tell me that Kirkman, Malone, College, and Richards. What's the other one?
802 East Tuscaloosa Street.
Thank you. And then, so you're saying that these people, like on College, they've replaced the roof and we're still declaring it a nuisance?
We could ask to just remove it from the list, but there's still some repairs that need to be made, and we can work with the owner. Has not contacted us, but they just made those repairs.
And this is West College Street? What's it, let's leave it on there.
1224 West College Street.
Yeah.
Well, I just went by and checked it today, and that had been done since we had sent out the notices. No, and the owners are given the opportunity to appeal this to council, and we hadn't heard from any of the owners on these properties.
No, I'm glad to see Malone on there. That's been an ongoing problem. That one I've gotten complaints about it previously.
Yeah, it had a severe fire damage to 2022,
Recently,
and
before that.
yeah, the roof's just gone. And so we did speak with the owner about that when we sent the notice out, and she was good with the city actually following through demolishing it. And also, we'll follow through, we'll pay for this with our budgeted demolition funds, and then a lien will be placed against the property for any cost that the city may have.
Good, that's good to know that. And I didn't realize the foundation had to be taken up too. So.
Well, in some cases they would, if it creates a public nuisance with a safety hazard, it would, but, you know, it may remain underground if it wasn't a safety hazard.
That is a short list,
It is,
and you know what I mean.
yeah, it is a short list.
Very short.
We keep an ongoing list, but that's 6, and so it'd be 4, so, you know, it's averaging cost, about $5,000-6,000 a piece to tear these down, but we have been recovering that by, you know, placing a lien against the property, and then when the property sells, it's paid.
But it takes, I mean, the process to get to this point is long. I mean, it's not just you've given us this, like some of the time we've complained about it, but other times, you know, you've all done your job of doing the thing.
Right. Yeah, there's some timelines in there where you have to notify the property owners and lien holders and anyone that may have an interest in the property.
Is there any kind of way that we can revisit the ordinances to possibly streamline this, that we can revisit?
We try to do it in accordance with the state code. I mean, it's all in the state code, and that's what we follow on it, you know. I mean, we could have a bigger list, for sure, but it just takes time to go through the legal process.
Okay. All right, no other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl?
Cheryl Jones, Animal Control Director. I have an invoice for Barnett Plumbing for repairs to the faucet in the employee's bathroom in the amount of $575.
What happened? Did it just stop working?
It just tore up. It was very strange. It just quit working, and unfortunately, we need to wash our hands as often as possible.
And it's fixed now?
Yes, it's fixed now, and everybody appreciates it very much. Any questions?
I appreciate the work you're doing over at Forest Hills on that
Well,
problem now.
well, we gave them an official warning in writing, so the next step will be municipal court.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Mary?
Mayor, we have electricity department. How are you all this afternoon? Good. I have 3 items on the agenda. The first one is professional service to extend our current agreement with Lightland and Collins. We got a new price list, and this is an updated services with a new price list contract.
And it didn't go up.
It did. That's why we're having to redo it, yes. Most of our professional services are going up, so that's, I bring a lot to you because they are going up, yes. Any questions about that? A lot, did it go up a lot? No, let me pull it out. Well, actually, I don't have the last year's prices, Michelle, so I can't tell you. I honestly, I'll have to send you both, because I don't have last year's pricing, so I'll share those with you.
Would you just send them to all of us?
Yes, I will be happy to, thank you. I don't wanna misquote a price, so, so we'll share it with all of you. Okay, the second one is, real estate sales agreement. We are purchasing a piece of property from Lyndon Reader for $500, which backs up to our meter lab on Limestone Street. So this is just a purchase agreement for us to purchase a piece of property from Lyndon Reader.
That's kind of a donation to the city.
It is kind of a donation to the city. Yes, it is.
I would buy those all day.
Yes, yes, agreed. And then lastly, we obviously, most of you know, we're updating our Shoals Creek substation, which is the one kind of across from Kendall Gardens on Highway 72. And so this is an agreement with Shot Creek. They are gonna actually, I don't know if you've ever noticed a substation, but it's kind of on the edge of a bank. So, yes, and so this is a contract for them to dig it out 40 feet, so we can do some rearrangement at that location for the substation and spread it out a little more, so. And it's for an amount of $48,500.
You went over that at the utility committee, and I was grateful for it. You just don't realize what you don't know when it comes to those things and how important it is, I don't know, to be able to get to them.
Yes, very true, very, very true. Anything else?
Yes, Mary, I got a couple things for you. One thing, on West College Street, and I think I kind of mentioned to it, but there has been some big holes out there. And I know I got called about them, and of course, I'm not real tall, but if I had went down there and fell in one, nobody would have ever even known that I was in there. They would never found me.
Very true, yeah. That's why we cover it with our big,
But that had been moved, are those fixed?
so we are
That's
about to.
very dangerous.
It is, but we have them covered. I mean, if someone decides to move the cover, I agree with you completely. We're replacing, I think it's 20, maybe 18 poles down College Street, which we've talked about before. And we are gonna start that project probably in the next couple of weeks. The poles are already been ordered and they're laying there at the old hospital property. You've probably seen them there too. And so in the next few weeks, we should have that project going. And we'll start replacing the poles.
So those that we called about, had concerns about, they're still open?
They should
I
not be
mean, they're not open,
open,
but they haven't been filled yet. The poles are not there.
the poles are not there yet. Yeah, we dug the holes. We actually had to rent a piece of equipment to dig the holes because it's in a small space. We had a special order poles that were slimmer to fit between the road and the sidewalk. So we had to rent a piece of equipment to dig the holes. So we rented the piece of equipment, dug the holes, and just been waiting to do the project. It's been on our list and we're just now getting it to on our list.
And you anticipate in a couple of weeks? did you
We
say?
hope in a couple weeks, and it's probably gonna be probably a month to finish the project. It's a pretty good project, so.
And how many did you say?
I think it's 18 of them,
Take
down
it
College
down the
Street.
Okay.
There are transmission poles, so we'll have to, switch the transmission line around and replace them, and then we'll have to, move the distribution after that.
Okay.
Is that because of the new community that's being built there?
It's not, it's just the poles are old and they're bad. They're very bad, and they are very old, so we're just replacing them for just maintenance replacement.
Thank you.
And the poles that fell on West Irvine, did you get those corrected? I had called you that?
Yes, they were.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they picked them up and took care of those, yes.
Okay. And my next question, since Tad, talking and since we're, talking about the hotel project, and so on the electrical standpoint of this, I know they're gonna be doing a rooftop there. where would this affect you all as far as that concerned?
Of course, we need to look at some plans, we need to look at some load, but, we currently have our transmission distribution lines run right behind the building. And so depending on what side the rooftop was on, it would have to meet, National Electric Code, safety codes, distance is away from the power lines. And so depending on the plans, if we had to relocate it, we're looking at probably $250,000, $300,000 to relocate our 44 line. You'd have to come and be moved to Pine Street. So now it's in the alleyway, and it would have to be moved half a block to Pine Street. If the plan, were they need, we're gonna interfere with the code. And for the new construction side, like depending on the load, there's currently a 500 kVA transformer that serves that building, and I don't know if they're wanting to connect the two buildings or what they're gonna do, but if it went back just like it was, of course, we could just turn it on and it would cost them nothing except deposits. But if they needed a larger transformer, they'd have to incur the cost of that, or if they had to relocate any of the facilities. So I mean, we could be looking at anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000, depending for the new construction side of it. Just depending on what they need. Does that make sense? So we're kind of at the mercy of waiting for plans and waiting for, what their road's gonna be.
Can you get the transformers? I mean, I know there's a backlog.
There's a backlog, so we've been ordering used transformers, and that's probably what we'd do in this situation if we didn't have one currently. And so, we currently have a 500, and, I mean, that may be sufficient enough for them, but if say you had to change out of either, larger, then, yes, we would have to order it, and it could be, I mean, if Solomon had one, we'd probably looking at anywhere from 3 to 4 months to get it here, but if they didn't have one and we had to order one from stock, I mean, we could be 2 years out getting one, so it really just depends on, you're exactly right, Jackie, that it just depends on what we can find at the time. Mm-hmm. Yes. Anything else?
Anyone else have any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Wait. Jay, Mr. Reader asked me to get you to pull that off the agenda. Item J on the consent agenda, he'd like to hold that and discuss, talk with you about it.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Jared Wallace, the Fire Department. We have, I think, 7 items for you this afternoon. First item, item L, is an invoice from Hobart Sales and Service in the amount of $1,210.75. They repaired the stove at Station 1, the gas stove. They had to replace the pilot safety valve on that stove. It is now working properly. Any questions on that one?
Do you have a working agreement with Hobart like Parks and Rec does?
I'm not sure if we have that's who we normally contract or call to replace any of this, especially like Station 1, it's industrial type stove and oven and that kind of material, those kind of things we usually do call them I don't know, we don't have a contract with them specifically, but that's who we kind of have
It might be worth looking into, Chief, as we prepare for the next budget year.
Sure, I'll pass that along. Anything else on that one? The second item, Ringer's Garage Door, we have an invoice from them for $1,956.25. They replaced 2 of the springs on the roll-up door at Fire Station number 3 that broke, and so they came and fixed those, repaired those for us. And it's back in working order.
So same song, second verse. Maybe Ringer can give us, because we call them all the time.
We do call them pretty frequently, yes. Next item N, General Sign Company. We have a proposal from them in the amount of $2,254 to replace the lettering on the outside of Fire Station 5, on the front of the building and on the side, just the big white Fire Station 5 lettering. It had gotten old and kind of deteriorated, so they're going to replace that for us. So that's what that one is for. Try to keep the station looking good. Questions, comments on that one? The next item, Brindley Mountain Fire Apparatus came and did some repairs that we needed done needed it done pretty quickly. Our mechanic is off on some leave, so we had 5 of our apparatus that had some issues. They have an invoice in the amount of $6,650 for work that they did on 5 of our apparatus. Tower 1 had a leaf spring in the suspension system that was replaced, that was bad. Ladder 5, they had to do some work on the cable that runs electrical power up the aerial ladder to the top of the ladder. Engine 2 had a shock replaced. Engine 4 was having some issues with their siren. They checked that. And then Tower 5 had a simple window repair that they made for us. And all those total were $6,650.
And that's labor and the equipment
Yes.
to do the.
We provided a lot of the parts for them. They came and just mostly performed labor for us. There was a couple of things they had to go find, supplies they had to go get. We had most of it in-house, so they just came mainly perform labor for us, so.
Were they able to do that at the site of the vehicle, or did you bring it to one site, which would be out on 72, and use that?
Yeah, they did it all at our shop out on 72, yeah. They sent a crew of 2 guys down here and went to our shop, and we carried our apparatus out there, and they did all the work out there, yeah. Anything else on that one? Next item, Sunbelt Fire has an invoice for $1,662.27. They repaired our, it's really our backup air compressor that's at Station 5. This is the compressor, the machine we fill our SCBA bottles with. We have a new one at Station 1, we have an older one at Station 5, so now we have capability for 2 stations to fill their bottles. That one is in excess of 20 years old, so we've had some maintenance and upkeep on it, but they came and repaired it for us, so it's in working order now as well, so. Any questions on that one? Have an invoice for $600 for Barnett Plumbing to do some plumbing work at Station 3. We actually had some sewage backing up into one of the showers. It would back up a little bit and then go back down, so we had Barnett come out, they checked it. And they, first could not find anything. And then in the past week or so, they've come back out and done some more work, and they found one of the sewer pipes, one of the sewer lines outside the station has actually collapsed a little bit, so there's probably gonna be another invoice from Barnett coming in the next week or so, where they've actually did some work to replace that and repair that sewer line, so that's what that was about. So it took a while to find what the issue was, so. And that's a building that's, Station 3 is probably built in the 40s, I guess, so old infrastructure right there that they're having to deal with. Questions on that one? Okay, Maintenance Plus, I think this is the last one, quoting the amount of $3,600 to install a whole system dehumidifier on the HVAC unit at Fire Station 5, just in an effort to control some of the moisture issues there, mainly in the locker and shower room at the fire station. So that work's been completed as well, so. Questions on any of those or anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Melissa?
Melissa Bailey, Planning Director. Does anyone need a handout of the memo? Yes? Yeah, okay.
That email was really tiny. On my end it
Mine was fine.
Thank you. Yours was the correct comments. No problem. So we will have a public hearing tonight for the rezoning that sits at the top of your agenda. For rezonings, there are 2 public hearings, one held at the Planning Commission level. That one was held in May. And then it is, the ordinance is advertised for public hearing, which is then held for the City Council. I will conduct the hearing for you all tonight. And know that this came to the Planning Commission, or comes from the Planning Commission with a unanimous recommendation for rezoning. That this is a pretty cut and dry one, so Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask about the rezoning or the process?
What's going there?
Residential structures, townhouses, 6 of them.
It's a little bit of infill, you
Mhm,
know, some
it is.
extra homes, but infill in an area that's currently unused. And that was, what was the emphasis of the planning commission conversation with the developer.
So what's gonna happen to the house that's sitting there?
There's actually the
I mean, is it gonna work
structure-
around the house? or-
Yeah, so the structure, I think that you're speaking of that faces Wilson Dam Road is on a separate lot under separate ownership.
Okay.
So this property, you actually access this property from Anderson Drive, which is just a short drive, a short street off of Wilson Dam.
Mhm.
That's where you will access these
Okay.
lots from.
Okay.
That's where Anderson used to stand on that property, and that was their warehouse many years ago. That's why it's called Anderson.
I was gonna ask how long that was.
And there was a house behind that one, and it was removed probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so the in and out will be on Anderson to
Correct.
Wilson Dam Road.
That's correct. And you do have a site plan in your packet. If you go past the memo, you have a 2-page report, and then you have a location map. And then that next page there is the site plan. So the house, Councilman Oliver, that you were speaking of sits on that front lot that faces Wilson Dam Road.
Right.
So you orient the site plan vertically, portrait style. And when you do that, Wilson Dam Road will be at the bottom of your page, and then Anderson Drive would be on your left.
So is that auto shop staying there, or is it going?
Yes, it stays, it's on a separate lot.
Okay.
We will see those residents soon after it's built to discuss Jake breaks. Because it's an issue with all of those residents down Huntsville Road, and we have no city ordinance about it now.
I was unaware of that.
That would be Mr. Vatson's office.
Yes.
Yes, in the police department, for sure.
It's been discussed before.
Ingress and egress from Anderson to Wilson Dam Road, correct?
Correct.
Just, that was a conversation also at planning commission, so that no cars were entering right there where it's very busy by that light.
Right, and they also, of course, no access to Cox Creek Parkway either. Any questions?
No?
Further questions? Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Billy?
Good afternoon. I have 2 items on the agenda. The first is item B on the regular agenda, and it's the vacation of a portion of the Alabama Street right-of-way by Kenneth Patterson and Reggie Bruce. It was approved by, it went through the planning department and was approved, so any questions? Second item I have is a resolution regarding the moving forward on the proposed Hard Rock Hotel project. The resolution on the agenda tonight is not a binding resolution. It authorizes the city to advertise the required economic development, public hearing in the paper and hold the hearing presumably at the next meeting. You have to advertise the hearing at least 7 days in advance. So the goal, if the council approves this, would be to have it in the Times Daily in time for the public hearing to be at on the second meeting in August. And the terms in the resolution that the city is agreeing to in principle, or at least to consider with the further, with the finalization of the development agreement are, I think you all know this, but I'll repeat them just for the public. Tax abatements or rebates if the hotel is completed and operating, of 50% of the sales and ad valorem taxes generated by the hotel for a period of 15 years, or until a total amount of $3 million is rebated, whichever comes first. The contribution by the city of a maximum of $175,000 to be put towards the necessary public infrastructure improvements associated with the development, and capping the developer's building fees at $10,000. And those are the three primary pieces of the economic development package that the city would be offering the developer if this is approved and the agreement is approved after the public hearing. And of course, once the agreement is finalized, we'll need to go over all the fine points, but the agreement is not final yet. We're still working on it, or we will continue to work on it if the council approves the resolution tonight.
To kind of back up a minute, I know Ms. McDuffa shared some information with us a moment ago about some possibility of some utility lines being moved, and according to where everything's going to be. And she threw out a number, ballpark number, $200,000-300,000. This 175 infrastructure, just want to reiterate, make sure, we're all understanding is $175,000 cap. So if moving utility lines is $300,000, and that 175 has been exhausted on sewer and sidewalk and other improvements, that's on the developer.
That's correct.
To pay for.
Yes, yes, sir, that is correct. The city's expenditure on the public infrastructure is capped at 175, regardless of what infrastructure it is.
There also would be a timeline of when, if this moves forward, of a start time of when it should start a development, and also there'll be an ending.
That's correct.
Of a completion date as well.
Yeah, currently, and most likely this would not change in the final agreement, but currently the commencement date is not later than December 31st, 2025. So that's the date that construction will have had to have begun by that point. And then the project completion date means not later than June 30th, 2028. So those are the two tentative dates for beginning the project and completing the project currently.
It feels like we're kind of building this airplane as we're flying it, because we don't have any policies or anything in place regarding incentives. And so I think that's what has lent itself to a lot of the confusion that we have all experienced about this. And until such a time as we have that, I think we're going to get into this situation because we simply don't have it. And as I've said before, it's just a really slippery slope. And this, I think, is proving that.
And my question, we've discussed this, is, and we will find this out at the hearing or after the hearing, is where's the money? Do they have the money to pay $500,000 for infrastructure, $1 million for infrastructure? If they blow up a pipe somewhere or another, is the money there to fix it, or are they gonna leave a hole in the road?
Well, that comes,
That's later on.
that will come not at the time the agreement is approved, but before the city expends any money. There are certain conditions before there's what would, for lack of a better term, a closing, which is essentially when the city would provide the warrant that secures the payments. And before that can occur, the developer has to have all the permits in place and provide information about financing.
Wouldn't, I'm glad Mr. Edwards brought that up, because we were discussing this other day, and it's a great question you had too, and one that I really not thought about. Wouldn't a contractor or a developer or a construction company have to have insurance, be insured, and if they were to accidentally break a pipe or a gas line, their insurance would cover that, I would assume. It'd have to be in place before we can even start this.
He has to have a bond, doesn't he?
Well, the bond would, they would have to have a performance bond, well, not with the, I mean, typically they would have a performance bond and a payment bond. But what I think Mr. Oliver's talking about is they would have to have liability insurance in place, which would cover liability, which, you know, if they damage someone else's property, it would be a claim under the liability policy.
But what I want to reemphasize is that right now, all we're doing is just saying we agree to these 3 or 4, if you count the hearing. We're not obligating the city in any way.
No, and we're saying that we may agree to these things. The city's not saying that it's agreeing to these things. It's the only thing that the city's agreeing to do at this point is advertise and conduct what's called a 772 hearing, because it's amendment number 772 to the Alabama Constitution, which gave cities the authority to give public money for economic development purposes. And in order to do that, you have, like I said, you have to advertise it in the paper and then have a public hearing. So that's all that's being, you know, the actual amounts, deadlines won't be finalized and commit the city to anything until the agreement is approved, which can't happen. The agreement cannot be approved until after the public hearing and a resolution is adopted approving the economic development.
This is the first step of.
This is the first step, yes, sir.
But
It doesn't obligate the city in any way.
No, sir. No, only to have the hearing. So that's it. No, there are no other obligations. The other information's in there because in theory, you know, these amounts, this package has been talked about and with the developer, and so the city, I guess the city's not committing to anything other than to say that the city's at least, the council is at least interested in considering these amounts.
But before the council, before the city is locked in, we would know that the finances was there and solid before the city is
Well,
locked in.
the city would be locked in.
No obligation. My concern is, of course, I would love to see this happens. I know that it's needed. It's in my district, so naturally. But my main concern is protection of the city, that the city is protected, taxpayer dollars are protected, which is, there is none, that the city is not, this is not taxpayer dollars that's going out because it's abatement. If there's nothing going out, there's nothing.
No, the tax rebates
Right.
are only from the taxes generated by the hotel.
Right.
So if it's not operating, there will never be any rebates, and nor will the city pay for any public infrastructure improvements until the project starts and until the construction of the hotel starts. And if during the process, there's a default in the agreement or that they don't get the financing, then the agreement will be canceled. And then there won't be any obligations on the part of the city. So, so the city will be protected, at least on the front end. I mean, the city, you know, once the hotel's up and operating, if it goes out of business, then it does, but the city's tax, obviously the tax rebates will stop if the hotel's not operating, so.
Right.
Similar to the one that's not operating right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
We had a couple of different numbers over the last couple of weeks. So I called Mr. Sack and asked if I could meet with him. And the 175 just a week ago was 350. And so I asked what happened. And he said that Ms. Simmons has been negotiating. And the 3 million was 5 million 2 weeks ago. And I think, thank you for, I didn't know you were doing that. And you had met with him a couple of times, and there's a certain way we used to say it, but you encouraged him to reduce his request. And he dropped it from 5 to 3 and from 350 to 175. And I appreciate you doing that.
All right, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor?
Well, just so you know, Mr. Griffin, it's been about 16 years since we've considered take breaks. That was one of the first meetings I attended as council person, so.
It's still not there.
That's right, it was turned down at that time. Also, before I get here, make sure everybody knows is Kathy Waddell is with us tonight, and Martha, are you gonna stay another 10 years, or?
Yes.
No. Martha's here, and I think September the 1st, and she's been here a long time, and we're asking Kathy to work with Martha as she retires. I actually have 3 items tonight. The first one is item S. It's carpet cleaning services for the second floor in the mayor's offices. We go several years there and don't have that work, so we're asking that that be done, and it's a cost of $1,325.
Will it be the, Mayor, will it be the regular tile floors and the carpet, or just the carpet? All of it, our offices too?
That includes the offices too, doesn't it, Martha? The second item is T. As you know, we've got some great resources out at the Veterans Memorial, and this is a monument to a World War I hero, Homer Giddens, and that monument is $5,900, and that's within the funds in that budget. So asking approval of that. May I have a question there?
When will that be, I know we're probably just doing it, but when will that be ready to go, and will there be some sort of an event with an unveiling?
I'm sure there will be. Martha, are you aware, is that something Mr. Steen will move forward with?
I haven't actually discussed it with him, but once it gets closer to the time, I'll talk to Mr.
I'm
Steen about
sure
it.
there will be.
Yeah, thank you, good, I think that would be
He
great to honor his family.
he starts working about the time we finish the other one, so I'm sure he's out there. And the last thing, I think every one of you got some information from me. I worked with the committee on some issues with mold and other items in City Hall. I had some issues there, and with the help of David Coots, I worked with Trent Derrick with Intersolve, and he did an indoor air quality analysis. And this is a request, a $25,000 request to pay for the analysis and the cleanup of 6 rooms, as well as 2 industrial strength dehumidifiers. What he found was the air inside this building is certainly cleaner than what you'll find outside. So I was delighted that we didn't find, black mold or anything that was harmful at all. So I'm asking that you allow us to get this taken care of.
Where, Mayor, is this?
All right, there's about 6 or 7 rooms, and they are mostly in the customer service and accounting area, mostly in Sandy Predum and Martin Lovejoy's area. And so they're gonna replace some tiles, clean some air ducts, some other items. There was, some of the air inefficiency in this building, clammy and cold and ongoing issues, so we're going to try to address those. Also talked to Mr. Williamson. Some of our truck lines throughout the system are very dusty, and we're going to try to clean those up as well. But you're in an old building, you're just an old building that's not going to get any better. And I think that at least tries to address some issues that I think are important to our employees.
Thank you. Melinda?
Good evening, how are you guys?
How are you?
I'll be brief, I know we're short on time. I've got 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first is on the consent agenda. Item 11C, this is an agent appointment letter. It allows our trust company to request funds from our pension plan deposit and disbursement account to transfer funds for our monthly plan participants, our retirees. I sent you guys some information about that. Do you guys have any questions?
No, it was helpful information.
Thank you. The second item is actually on the regular agenda tonight. It's an amendment to the employee handbook. It has to do with hiring procedures. 2 parts of that we're looking to amend through this resolution. The first one is to restrict, I believe it's 9, it's less than 10 positions. You all are aware of what those positions are. From posting to the public solely due to the internal qualifications that are required and on-the-job training that's required for those positions. So those were selected by the departments to remain as departmental promotions only. So that's one portion. The other portion that this resolution will amend to the handbook is that job postings are reduced to 7 days instead of 14. And that's, to expedite the hiring process. It takes a while now to get an employee in a job. It's about 6 weeks. So we like to reduce that to expedite hiring.
Do you advertise that anywhere besides the paper, or is it just locally? I don't know what the scope of all that is.
Sure. We have a third party that does that, and you can actually type in government jobs, North Alabama. It'll come up ZipRecruiter, government jobs, Indeed. They pick them all up, so.
So we'll get the new website squared away and ready to go, and could it be on there as well?
Sure,
Yes.
we do post them, and it posts social media and things like that. So we get great applicants, we just want to get them in the jobs faster. So that's what this resolution seeks to do. Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
Okay, that concludes our work session, and we will take about a 5-minute break and